Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Chat with Robert Eid. Say hi,
Hi.
Robert. And John Perez. So in this episode, we're going to talk about a situation that you may go through, somebody you may know have gone through, or somebody is going through right now at this moment, which is you've bought a pre-construction subdivision home, whether it's a freehold, semi-detached. We're not going to be talking about pre-construction condos per se today, but you've bought a home based on the builder's agreement of purchase and sale, based on the approval process. You went to the bank, you got pre-approved for this particular mortgage. Builder starts to build this beautiful freehold semi, your dream home, your townhome. They start to build it, the subdivision. All of a sudden, the market shifts. Government decides to raise interest rates to fight inflation. All these things are happening. And all of a sudden, the valuation of that property plummets or drops 100, 200, 300,000, and you can no longer qualify. Or if you do somehow qualify, all of a sudden your mortgage payments have ballooned and astronomically increased beyond what you can afford. The question here is, what do you do? What are you responsible for? What's the builder responsible for? What's the lender responsible for? That is the question. And today, Robert and I are going to be dissecting this article here. This was actually published in December 19, 2022, so last year. They purchased homes right before the real estate downturn. Now they're struggling to close. So this particular development is in Brampton. The article names one specific developer, Paradise Homes. They name a group, a cultural group, a Punjabi community that is experiencing, or mostly Punjabi community that's experiencing this particular situation where they purchased homes and they bought homes in late 2021, early 2022. Now they're having trouble getting financing due to the fact that the real estate downturn has happened and the Bank of Canada raising interest rates. So now it's the government has something to do with this, sent mortgage rates skyrocketing, right? And buyers haven't slept. There's a family here that's, they talk about a situation where the price of the home is currently 1.7 million, but they had purchased it for 1.95 million. So now it's about 300,000 less than what they had agreed to pay for it. And instead of monthly pre-approved payments between 5,500 to 6,000 per month, they're looking at 12,000 to $15,000 per month. So Robert and I, what we're going to be talking about today is, first of all, dissecting the situation, what's going on, what could have happened, what could have been prevented here, and what's the solution. Robert's going to present a solution. So Robert, first of all, your thoughts on this article and how it unfolded, how they're naming a specific builder, a specific community. Is it just isolated to this, or is this rampantly happening everywhere?
Okay, well, that's a whole pile of stuff. And in this case, I'm going to say that the Brampton doesn't matter, and the name of the company in Brampton doesn't matter, and the name of the ethnic community doesn't matter, because this is a situation that's happening outside of Ottawa, outside of Gravenhurst, outside of everywhere, where people bought in anticipation of the trees growing to the sky. And guess what? The trees don't grow to the sky. Now, by that, I mean it's a stock market expression that says things always go up and they go up exponentially. And when I buy this, I'm buying it on the expectation it's going to be worth more in the future. And then there's another theory, the greater fool theory, that at that time in the future, no matter what I pay for it now, we'll find someone who's even crazier than me who will pay an even crazier price for it in the future. So this is called speculation. Okay? And in my view, there is no place for speculation in residential real estate in under 3-unit dwellings.
If I might interject at this
Yeah.
point, speculation, assuming that you're buying it to flip. Let's say I'm a family and I genuinely wanted to live there. Am I still speculating by buying such a thing?
All right. Well, that was halfway through the paragraph. So let's finish off the paragraph. So if we look at this one particular guy in the CBC article, he contracted with a builder who is approved by all of the people you need to be approved by to be a builder, to buy a house for 1.959, let's call it $2 million, plus $90,000 in upgrades. So now it's 2.1 for a single detached home that he, his wife, 2 children, mother would like. Now, this chap here it says he's an Uber driver who earns extra income as a property manager and from a business in another country. Doesn't matter what country it is. Now, I don't know if you know too much about underwriting. I know John does. I mean, the generic person that's watching this. But it goes on to say that he was approved for a mortgage where the monthly payments would have been between $5,500 and $6,000 a month, and now it's $12,000. Now, if you want to qualify for a mortgage for $5,500, you have to be making $198,000 per year. Now, I don't know how much money he was earning from the business in another country, but normally that doesn't count on a mortgage application when you're putting the bare minimum down. And I don't know how much he was making from Uber, but I don't think that you can come anywhere near $200,000 driving an Uber. And property manager, he must be great. Now, if he was that great, he'd be able to solve this problem because the problem is not that difficult. So in this situation, everybody is taking advantage of the rules. And it's speculation because even though it looks and the person at this time can purport, oh, look, I don't have my additional fancy lights on, can purport to say that my original purpose for making this purchase back 2 years ago was for my family to reside. And now my daughter's gone to university and I've had adversity and it is why I'm selling it and there's changed all reasons. So Canada Revenue Canada will buy that. If it's half legitimate, it can be half backed up. But his real intention was to buy it in the hopes that he could flip it because he was not qualified to buy it in the first place. So how was he able to get that far in the transaction? I say he because it says he in this article. He found a mortgage company that was able to take his documentation, whatever it said on it, and approve it and give him a commitment, even though the commitment was riddled, it's a commitment on the top, was riddled with conditions that's subject to appraisal at the time. And then the person who approves and signs agreement as the seller in the builder's office agreed to the firm contract, agreed to, because it says subject to getting a commitment. Now I see you have a commitment, so I'm approving that. And I don't say conspired, I say participated in the greater fool theory of no matter what happens, the market's gone crazy for the last 5 years, it's going to go crazy for the next 5 years. And so we'll all do fine. And some of these people will occupy the house, some won't, doesn't matter. We're just building them. Now, as a result of that, you've got nobody doing the pre-delivery inspections. The house is created, condo, if it's even worse. And since the person who bought it is not really ever wanting to live in it, they don't care about the pre-delivery inspection. And so since there's no pre-delivery inspection, the trades behave as if there's no pre-delivery inspection, and they don't finish the corners. They do a terrible job. Buddy of mine just bought a brand new house that he moved into. He lived for 31 years in a house I sold him in a Gold Hawk, which is in Scarborough, North Agincourt, and moved to up near Peterborough. Brand new house, $600,000, which at that time was huge money for this little center outside of Peterborough. And so he was expecting a mansion. And he was surprised at the quality of what he had to put up with, because everything was put up in a hurry. It's just like 1974, where everything is put up in a hurry, and the buyers buy because they just got to buy it. It's panic. You got to buy it, make money, but you get a piece of junk. You don't have quality construction at the end. Now, our article today is talking about the poor fella who got outsmarted by the fact that the market does not go up forever. Now, I'm sorry about that, but I'm not sorry for you, because you tried to outsmart everybody else. You thought by securing this maybe qualified, maybe not qualified application and passing it through your friend or the guy at the site who was handling 100 applications in one day or one weekend, that everything was going to be okay. And that when the time came, instead of it being 1.9, it would be 2.4. And so you could fudge that somehow and you can get a mortgage for 80% of the new value and everything would be fine.
Could they have seen this? Could they have seen this coming? So let's say it was me. Let's say I walked into that office and I wanted to live there, regardless of where this is, Ottawa, Brampton, wherever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say I wasn't speculating. Let's say, you know what, I genuinely want to buy this 1.956 whatever $1 million home. I make the money for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm willing to drive Uber if I had to, just to make up more payments, but don't need to. Could they have seen this coming, Robert? Was this something that, you know, let's say this happened 3 or 5 years ago, without question, everything would have been fine. But at that exact moment in time, me stepping into that office and signing those papers, should I have seen what was going to happen next?
Well, there's 2 years that happened in between times. So let's say it's not you, but let's say it's a legit earnest person whose name is similar to yours. So it was a legit earnest person buying something for $1.9 million that actually was qualified for that loan and got approved. Now the market turned down. That person is still qualified. That person wouldn't have got a ricky-ticky commitment that got withdrawn at the last minute, because that person would have, their lender would have said, well, you know what, I know maybe the appraisal is a little bit light, but if you put up just another $100,000 or get another co-signer, we'll still do it, because I know you're going to live there for 10 years and everything will be fine in 10 years. So it's because there was something wrong with the deal. It was in the lender's backyard. It was in the builder's backyard. It was in the person who approved the contract on behalf of the builder, saying, yeah, everything is fine. And so they're all in on it, and the trades as well. So what if you have a subdivision with 200 houses in it, and 60 of them are about to go south? What are you going to do? Now, is CMHC going to bail the builder out again? This happened once in the late 70s with condos, where at the time condos, you had to build the whole thing on spec. Now they won't let you put a shovel in the ground until it's 70% sold. So with built subdivision, it's the same thing. That's why it's 5 years to buy a new house, because the approval process, yes, but because they don't dig, and they're already finishing another subdivision. They don't dig until they got all the houses sold. Now, if you've got a house that you're waiting for 5 years, now you've got probably half the time you got a house to sell, which is also mentioned in this article. People who had a house to sell. So what did they do? Wait till the very last minute? Yeah, it seems so. Somebody has not been able to sell since August, so they didn't leave it to the last minute. If their closing is in March and they tried in August, they were planning, but the market went soft. So what they were hoping to do is they're going to buy the new place here, the acquisition, and then the value of their house was going to all both appreciate by the time they closed a year later. And so guess what? This one didn't. And this one, I got screwed up by the hand. But the acquisition didn't ever, the value of the acquisition never materialized. They promised you it was going to be worth this much in 3 years. It wasn't. And yours, well, it didn't appreciate all the way. It appreciated a little bit. So you sold your house, but you can't be greedy on both sides.
What's the
So,
solution? What's the solution here, Robert? Like,
okay.
let's say anybody who's in this situation, because some of you who are watching this right now, who did click the like button, by the way, and who did click subscribe, and who are commenting and sharing your experiences. So thank you so much
Okay,
for
so
doing
the
that.
legit person, what
What's
do
the
you do?
solution?
You
What's the
go to
solution?
the builder. I've got here a thing that came around from a law firm on Mondeck, where they've already taken precautions, where they're saying, okay, review your mortgage applications, make sure that all of them are still in line, make sure that those people all can still continue to complete the deal as purchased. And if there's something you can do to extend the time of the closing, to give them a second mortgage, to whatever it is. This is all that builders are actively doing already in 2022. Okay, so everybody's going to get hurt on this a little bit. The builder's profit is about 20% of the whole purchase price, and the amount that has gone down is about 20% of the purchase price. So he can't eat the whole thing, or he's going to be out of business. The buyer was not a fool, went into it with his eyes open and tried to outsmart the world. And guess what? The world outsmarted him this time. So he's going to have to hurt too. And you've got the lender that gave this monkey business fine print commitment that they knew what it meant, subject to appraisal, that the buyer didn't really know. He's, oh, yeah, there's always fine print. You don't read it. And the underwriter, and I'm not going to say anything bad about registrants. Maybe there was a representative, a real estate representative on the site. Maybe it was. It doesn't matter. It's the with the guilty mind or pure mind or clean hands, as I call it, of the buyer going in. Everybody's going to have to hurt. They're going to have to do it with financing. 20% of this is going to have to be made up over time, because eventually that property is going to be worth the 2.1, 2.4 that they thought it was going to be. And they're going to have to live in there, and they're going to have to pay higher rate. Someone can buy down the rate for them for 2 years. It's going to be expensive, but everybody has got to participate. If the government steps in, everybody in Ontario is going to get hurt by it. The people that should participate in the solution are the people who are involved in the deal, including the trades, including the builder, including the developer, because many times someone develops the land and then the builder buys 17 lots from the developer, including the buyer, and each deal is going to have to be dealt with differently. There's no one size solution fits all.
A bailout essentially means the taxpayers pay to fix these
Government
problems.
gets involved.
Government
The
pays, it comes back to everybody pays for these problems.
Because it's not a deal yet. So if the deal never closes, okay, and that's what these guys are saying. We have our deposits all sitting there, $250,000, and we can't close the deal. If you can't close the deal, well, you lose your deposit, or else it goes on hold. They try and resell the property and they sell it for whatever they can, and any differential comes out of your deposit, or you have to add to what's on deposit in order to make it up for the builder. Purchaser and buyer. This is what we have here, and we know how the rules for all that works. The only trouble is we've got one builder and 200 transactions in the course of 3-4 months. All of these 200 transactions are going to close in the same adverse market, and you don't want those 60 deals to all come on the market as resales, because they'll compete with each other and
it's going to dilute
the
the
price.
value. Exactly.
Right.
So
So
it's interesting. It's
yeah.
interesting that this article mentions that, of course, the builder, I mean, again, this one is about Paradise, but it could be any builder, as Robert pointed out. They want to work with the buyers, and of course, it's in their best interest too, because they don't want buyers to necessarily walk away from these deals. They'll get the deposit, but the losses are huge. So in doing that, let's conclude by asking this question, Robert. Today, being January 2023, a builder puts up a new site and they've got the price lists out. Those price lists are, of course, going to look a little bit more attractive in the sense that they're less than last year's prices, I would assume. But for pre-construction, of course, because I mean, we're looking at resale versus pre-construction. But let's say, for example, today, somebody wants to buy a pre-construction. We're not talking about condos for this episode. Somebody wants to buy a pre-construction in a subdivision with a 3 to 5 year, 5 year probably time span to build. Should they buy today?
The answer is always yes and no. The answer is yes, if that house in 3 to 5 years is exactly what you want. Now, the question of price is that price what you would pay for it today? Is that price you would pay for it today plus 10%? Is it what you pay for it today plus 50%? And it costs more every year to pay for land, to pay for wood, to pay for copper, to pay for installation, to pay for cupboards, to pay for everything. So it's going to cost a little bit more than today's price. But so the answer is, if it's the great thing, then you have to buy it in anticipation, because it's not built yet. So you can't buy something existing. If you could buy something existing, buy that if you want to. But to buy it in anticipation of making money on it in the future, they're selling it to you at a future price. We know that already. So to answer the question, yes, if it makes sense, but no, if it's not a good deal for you, if you can buy it at that same price around the corner or 10 miles away from the site where the new subdivision is sitting, then, and you want to buy something now, then buy that, because you will find expanding inventory.
That's exactly it. So again, to conclude, if you're looking to buy pre-construction, anything at this point is if it makes sense to you and you genuinely see yourself living there. If you're speculating in this particular market, you may be disappointed. I mean, you've got to be looking at a long-term holding in order for you to be able to justify purchasing pre-construction subdivision homes in this market, and make sure you're looking and reviewing with your lawyer the agreement of purchase and sale. You're working with a reputable builder. You understand the implications of what will happen if interest rates continue to rise, and you're looking at those terms within the mortgage. So thank you so much, Robert. Any final words, analysis, or any final advice for anybody watching this episode?
That was an excellent summary. No, I'd say that you heard me get all excited about it and blame everybody else. But if you've got clean hands, I'm not talking to you.
And that's what we talk about with Real Estate Chat. So make sure you like this video if you like it. If you dislike it, put in the comments why you didn't like this particular one. But put into comments your questions. Follow Robert's blog, follow my blog, and we'll look forward to seeing you in our next episode of Real Estate Chat. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
See you later.